Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, good morning, it's Dr. Gemma, and welcome to episode 184 of the Cognitive Podcast. If you hear an echo, it's because I am actually recording this from my bathtub, where I am soaking in Epsom salts because I think the front of my upper leg will never forgive me for running 3 days in a row. But I'm trying to assuage their moodiness with some Epsom salt. But I have to tell you, I got in the bathtub and both fronts of my legs gave these sighs of relief. So I think it was a good move. Now, before we go anywhere else, it is time to give you the updates on Cognitive Fiber Retreat 10, alias CFR 2024 or CFR X. And let me tell you everything I know. I have a thread for this on our group on Ravelry. If you're in the show notes, there are two places in the show notes every episode where you can find the link to this thread. And I'm looking at it and realizing I have to update. I have what we think so far as of November 12th, 23. Well, I've got to update that. But otherwise, we are having this on Saturday, September 28th, 2024. I will pull in on Friday the 27th because I took it off this year because I have a brain. We are going to have the same venue. So we will be at the Courtyard by Marriott in Valencia, California on 28523 Westinghouse Place in Santa Clarita. I know. The naming of towns in the Santa Clarita Valley is pretty eclectic. The phone number is there. There's even a link. You can just press it and it will call. We now do have a reservation rate with them. And I can't figure out why I didn't put it in here. Oh yes, there it is. The very bottom of the updates. This is post number 1 under the group called Cognitive Fiber Retreat 2024. Read all the way down. At the bottom of it, it says reservations with group discount right here. And you click on the right here. All right, so there is a link to our group discount reservation. Now, I want to say that we have the same vendors. That will be Lisa Susie Yarns, Oink Pigments, and Laser Sheep. I could not be more excited. We had a great time with them last year. And I had some comments about the lighting for their stands. We need to recommend they bring good lighting. I have to tell you, they do want to return, and I don't remember having any problems with the lighting in that room. But okay, I just put it in there because someone commented on it. Now, we are having it in September. This is not going to be typical. This is very early, but we're trying to avoid some spiritual holidays and a few other events. And I'm sorry if you can't make it. Every year we go through this, people say, but I was going to come, but I can't make it that weekend. I know, it's hard. It's hard for me as well. But this is just the way that's going to be. I will have had 5 days off for Labor Day. I did not want to use up another day off on that Friday the 27th, but I found out last year why I have to. I just can't work that Friday. And I knew this when we used to do the CFRs up in Tehachapi. So there we go. So most years I am planning to have this in October. This one is unusually early. And that's just the way it is this year. I hope everybody comes. We will again be in the same room, the Valencia banqueting room. And people have asked, why don't we just let the vendors use their suites? Because that creates liability risk for Cognitive, for CFR. So we don't want them to do that. If that changes, I'll let you know. We expect to have mini skein trading again. You don't have to do this, but if you have minis you'd like to get rid of, what I'm talking about here is sock weight yarn, fingering weight. Size, what is that, size 2, size 1? Anyway, There will also be a yarn table. Please bring any skeins you'd like to get rid of. You can also take skeins without any questions from that table. You will get, however, raffle tickets when you come in the door. We will have door prizes as far as I know. And if you make a bear for Mother Bear, and I believe that's motherbear.org. At any rate, I will put the link in when I get to it. If you bring bears for Mother Bear, then you will get extra raffle tickets. As of this moment, we're expecting you to send the bear to Mother Bear. We're not covering that, as far as I know, this year. Now, in terms of the rooms, I do again have a room, and this year I have enough points so you guys don't have to cover it. So I'm hoping we have a slightly lower price this year. What does that actually mean? It means I haven't sat down and figured out the price. Last year it was $35. It certainly won't go up. The question is do we need it to go down, or can we get it to go down? I haven't done that math yet. Sign-ups, I don't have it in here, but the people who came to any CFR, throughout all 10 of them, you're an automatic admission. So if you've been to a CFR at any time, you're going to just let me know that. Those sign-ups are in July. They will start July 1st. For people who have never been to a CFR, they will start August 1st. If we're not getting a lot of sign-ups in July, I may just open it because I'm very worried about this date. I'm also worried because last year we fell a little short of 50, and I'd really like us to have 50 because that keeps the cost down for me. Okay, I mean that keeps the cost down, that I tell you you have to pay. Payment comes with registration. It is non-refundable. That has always been the policy because I just can't keep up with that. What's going on in the background is I'm working with vendors to buy things from them. We do not make a profit on CFR. So any money we get pays for the Valencia room, and if we need it to, it pays for my room. This year we don't need it to. So that's all really good. I will be asking for an upgrade to a suite. And last year I really needed it, so I have to talk to them about that. But even so, whether I get a suite or I don't, you guys aren't paying for it this year. Hooray! Now what you really want to know, the classes. Well, Jasmine is indeed bringing her sewing machine. Thank you, Jasmine. This means that we are going to have Jasmine's steeking class again. We have a pretty advanced group here. And this does not mean, by the way, I want to discourage people who are not as skilled as some of the more skilled knitters here. I mean, we have some really top drawer knitters and crocheters here, so please don't feel intimidated, because if that was all we had, we wouldn't have a retreat, okay? So we're so glad we have them. We're lucky to have them, but please don't be intimidated. Okay, but steeking's pretty sophisticated stuff, and pretty much everybody wants to get to it sooner or later. So Jasmine is going to be teaching her steeking class again, and she's bringing a sewing machine, which means, yes, you can actually do sewn steeking. And the really cool thing is everybody started jumping into this act. So we have Emily, alias Viva Scrapper. She's going to teach a class on how to crochet that steek reinforcement. Because some people do. Some people just, whiz it through a sewing machine, and some people crochet it. I have to tell you, as a pretty seasoned crocheter myself, I wouldn't call it particularly harder or more time consuming to do either one. So I think we're really lucky that we have some people here who can show us both of these. Then, of course, there's the amazing Steffi Jo. And Steffi Jo jumped onto the bandwagon. She wants to do afterthought everything socks, as she describes it, which is, in other words, what do you do when you have the tube for a sock? And that's really great because we have people with sock knitting machines, and then we just have me and people like me who are just doing it the hard way, knitting the tube. And so essentially this is a really nice complement to the other two steeking classes, because she's basically telling you where you go once you've made the tube, which, well, I leave to your imagination. The idea here, of course, is that socks are this kind of universal thing for both knitting and crocheting. And I don't know about a crocheted sock tube, but if Steffi Jo knows, and if anybody's going to know, let me tell you, it would be Steffi Jo. Although I bet some money on Jasmine and Emily also knowing this stuff. But at any rate, the idea is, can you basically steek the sock and then cut it? And of course you can. We all know this. We all know Elizabeth Zimmerman was big on this. So this is pretty cool because we have 3 classes that are very, very complementary. around the concept of gasp, cutting your knitting or cutting your crocheting. Okay, and then just when you think, like, could this get any better? I started talking to Carmen Trinidad, who last year basically gave her whole gang from the OC these wonderful across-the-body bags that she makes from granny squares. And she said, we should teach this as a class. And I said, oh, okay, you want to teach that? She's like, no, but I bet we could get Ariane to do it. And she did. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we have the amazing Ariane teaching the amazing Carmen T's across the body bags from granny squares. Now, the really cool thing about this, I, of course, am the one who is just a junkie for scrap knitting and scrap crochet. I love using up leftovers instead of buying new stash. And this, let me tell you, this is the place to do it. Now, in my experience, when I've made one, I'm still working on it. I have to hand sew it together, but it's there. The major body is there. And all you need for this, seriously, are 4 granny squares. So that's nothing. I mean, that's not even an evening of crochet. And you can do the granny squares in one color. Particularly you can do it in a gradient, you can do it in solids, or you can do it in my version of it, 5 different colors. You can also do any granny square you want. I mean, the traditional bag is, the traditional granny square, where basically you have alternating 3 crochet into 1 stitch, alternating with a chain stitch. And that's it, man. There you go. And the 3 stitches can be anything, singles, doubles, half double, whatever. And you can use any square you want. It doesn't have to be that traditional square. So my first purse, I was making these sunflower squares, and I just made a bunch of them and then realized I had no place to use them because I put white in them and all my other granny squares had a kind of ecru. And I said, what do I do with this? And then I realized I was staring at the bag that Carmen made for me last year, which is beautiful. And I just thought, well, any square could go in that, and I started making one. So Ariane's going to teach this, and I think one of the things that's really going to help this is that we have that yarn table where people are giving and taking and leaving and offering skeins. So hopefully we're actually going to have a lot of readily available yarn that we can trade and swap to make our squares. There are a lot of free granny squares on Ravelry. Also, Carmen sent me the pattern she was using. It's a British pattern. I think it was £5 or €5. I was using one that I found on Ravelry that was $1.90, and I noticed Yarnspirations has put up a free pattern for the same purse. Do I feel bad about that? No. The reason I don't is this 4-square purse is a standard in the crochet world. You see them all over the place. It is just one of those things that people traditionally do with their granny squares. If you're intrigued by this, there's many purses like this. For example, there's I think it's 13-square, larger bag, like a purse that is a standard size purse. And you see that all over the place. So, I don't really feel bad about finding a pattern and using it if it's free on this one, because this is a golden oldie among crocheters. I don't think that any of these people publishing it and selling it, I mean, I'm glad for them if they make money, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think they have any particular reason to be holding exclusive rights to it. At any rate, I can give you any of these patterns if you want to pay for it. It's okay. I can show you where they are. I will put a link into the free one. And you will need a crochet hook for this. That is a crochet hook that you would like to use on a size 4 yarn. That's what I use. I get a 6-inch square out of a size 4 yarn when I use an I, which is a 5.5 millimeter. Most people, when they use a size 4, they're using anything from a G through an H through an I, even through a J. You sort of have to know your own gauge on this. Also, we are going to be equidistant from a Joann Fabrics and a Michaels. So if you don't have that hook, let me tell you, you can get it pretty easily. Also, we're near a Walmart, and I haven't checked, but I would be pretty sure they would have crochet hooks and hopefully cheap acrylic yarn. So I think you're really well set up for this. There's even I'm blowing hair off the screen here. So I think you're really well set up for this. There's even a Target down the road. They may have the stuff. I do not know. So I'm looking at the update thread, which is the absolute first entry on the Cognitive Fiber Retreat 2024 discussion board thread. And it's in the cognitive group, our thread on Ravelry. It's in the cognitive, there it is. Sorry, I'm making sure I'm saying the right thing here. I'm sitting in the bathtub. My concentration, maybe not what it should be. Okay, so that is the update. I will go in after I finish recording this and do all that updating. And if you see that I don't have something in there, please feel free to remind me. Please feel free to correct anything. If you go to the show notes, which is cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com, you will find as much of this as I could squeeze in there, including the link to book your group rate. So you can find that on the information thread, and you can also find it in the show notes. Having said all that, warm thanks to everybody who I know is going to go through this and help me correct things. And I can't remember who it was, told me I had a link wrong in the last notes, and I wanted to thank you, and I can't remember who you are, and I apologize. But basically, what I'm really saying is I do count on the people who are in contact with me through Ravelry, through Instagram, and through Facebook for a lot of editing and correction. And let me tell you, I'm not ashamed to do it. I always need proofreaders because Cognitive itself, including this podcast, is very much a one-woman show. And so I do need the editing, and I'm always grateful for it. All right. Woo. By the way, on the crossbody bags, I also am making one, and I hopefully will be making a new one at this party. And I will be happy to work with anybody as a spare for Ariane. I'd happily be her teaching assistant for this. And I think a lot of us would, including Carmen. Haha, Carmen, I got you. I just volunteered you. Okay, what's in my hooks and needles? Oh, I finished the Clio wide brim hat. It came out huge. I want to warn you if you use that pattern. That is not a free pattern. And the links are in the show notes, but it came out very big. And I mean, I stopped, I checked gauge, and it still came out big. I did not use the ribbon yarn recommended. I used peaches and cream or sugar and cream, whichever one you want to call it. And I put it on, and it was huge. It was like riding down to my nose. And then I basically pulled a beautiful light cotton sash out of my collection of scarves and tied it around it, and it works great. I did wire the brim. I do recommend that. The wiring really gives it a lot of structure. The other thing I would tell you is you don't need the brim as wide as she gives it. I'm not sure why she made the brim that wide. However, since my gauge was off, it may not be that wide. So if I ever get the chutzpah, I will go in there and pull the wiring out and pull that back a few rows. But right now I'm living with it as it is, and I'm loving it. Simply loving it. And of course it goes with the bag that I made last week, the Jahugic bag that I wanted so I could bring it to Cognitive Fiber Retreat 10 filled with all my stuff and projects. That's why I made that bag, let's be honest. In my woobling habit, I did finish Lola the Wooble's polar bear, Lola the polar bear. And the reason I did Lola, she's a total hack. I did not have a pattern for her, and I have to admit, I did it because there's only so many times I'm going to buy a Wooble's kit because they are expensive, even though I do think they deliver if you're a total beginner. So I looked at all the Wooble's kits, and some of them just weren't available. That's how I ended up with Howard the Yeti, you may remember. And I just said, well, after you do Howard the Yeti, Felix the Fox, let me tell you, Lola is nothing. And so I just realized she's Felix the Fox in white. She really is. Even the nose is not a bear nose, which you will see on the next one I talk about. So I just did Lola the polar bear in my own acrylic yarn, leftovers, and I just totally copied Felix the Fox. And then I looked at the scarf, which is crocheted, and I just think looks awful. And so I actually knitted a scarf for her. And the really nice thing is I knitted it in stockinette. So the ends curl up. And that's great because it makes it really cling to her body in a nice way. And then I just made a very long one. I put it in Gryffindor colors because I am. And it also went really well. Her original scarf is, I think, in mostly red with a little bit of white in it. And so I think my scarf just looks better. I didn't put tassels on the end or anything like that, or fringe. It was enough. So Lola the polar bear is in there. And then there was Walter. Once I made Lola, I said, well, wait, don't they have a brown bear? And they do. And they used to have it as a kit, but then they put Walter in the book. So I'm sitting there thinking I'm going to hack this bear too. Too bad I'm not going to get the nose right, because Walter's nose is somewhat different than Lola's. Well, actually, then I went through the book, and there it was. And there's Walter, and he's sitting in a cupcake wrapper with frosting across one ear. And I guess that's because he's simple, and they thought he was not very exciting. I don't know. Walter can teach you some new skills because his snout is based on the oval. And the oval goes with some of the slightly beginner plus patterns. I don't like the oval. I have to admit I've had trouble shaping it a few times. However, I made the Walter from the book, and then I looked at the pictures of the kit. In the kit, he's got a little bit of beige in his ears. That's a little tough to do because, of course, you're sticking the needle through the ear. It's only one row thick, so it's going to come out the back. So you have to sort of run the needle down behind stitches, and I don't know how you would do that with Woobles yarn. Well, you do it on Felix, so I guess there is a way because I did it. But anyway, a little challenging. But there's Walter the Woobles bear, so he's somewhat hacked, which is the way I like to do my Woobles. Meanwhile, I wanted to do Gertrude the llama because they have baubles, and I was really curious how she manages baubles. As you can see, I did not do the best job because between each bauble, there's a single crochet, and the baubles are double crochet. They're not straightforward double crochets. She's got a slight technique there, and you can learn it from that in the kit. I'm not going to go into it. But you do have to have a lot of tension on those single crochets to make the baubles pop out. I really didn't do a great job, and I don't care because I happen to love Gertrude. A lot of people hack a tail for her. And the best hack for the tail, I did not, but the best hack for the tail is do another leg and just sew it on the back. And I think that's a brilliant idea. And it's not as hard as it looks. That I would have to admit that Gertrude, she's considered an intermediate because of the learning double crochet, but she's not as intimidating as she might look. She certainly doesn't look intimidating in my picture. But again, I had to hack the snout a little bit because it's based on an oval and I had a hole in it, which is a problem I've had with her ovals. But, you know, I'm also a good embroiderer, so I can fix anything. And then there was Cornelia the bee. I didn't mean to do her, but I was just hanging out one night in my study after seeing patients, and I saw this thing that was the International Day of the Bee. So Cornelia came into, being. Now I have to tell you, Cornelia is one of the easiest Woobles. That she's just the egg shape. That's it. And then you make the wings, which are pretty similar to the ears of Gertrude. In other words, you could probably hack her wings. Now I happened to realize she was in the book. And so I just did her out of the book. And those antennae look like they're going to be a problem. They're actually ridiculously easy. So don't be intimidated. But I will say I wouldn't have known how to hack the antennae. I did need the book for that. So there below it, you can see a picture of all the Woobles on the desk of completeness. They're all happy and they're all there together. I'm just now, it's like a club. You know, when I finish one, they get to go over there. And there's quite a few there. I'm rather pleased with myself. The stash toss is at 25 in versus 47 out. We've reached that halcyon moment where I'm using it and not buying new stuff. I did start a new Wooble, Doug the Pug, and Doug is in the book. And so you can see him in his earliest stage where he's just an egg with eyes. And I also started the cat. The cat, I think, is Neko. The cat is called Neko the cat. Well, you know it's got to be Minerva, right? So unfortunately, I'm waiting for eyes that I ordered from Knit Picks because I don't want to use the standard black eyes. You just won't see them. And I think my Knit Picks shipment, which was also wooden crochet hooks for my jury duty, it just seems to have vanished, that it was being tracked and it was supposed to be in my mailbox and it wasn't. So I'm not sure what's going on there. So poor Minerva the cat, she's in limbo till I get better eyes for her. And that will teach me to order them from Knit Picks. Next time I'll just get them from Amazon. I still have the Granny Square crossbody bag. You know, the one that I was telling you I was going to teach you how to do. I haven't done it. I still have it. I still am working on the Lakeside cardigan. I've got almost all the blocks done. I stopped because I really needed to sew what I had together for purposes of sizing. And I wanted to not make too many blocks. So I've been basically now sewing together the back. And what does that mean? It means first there were 2 long rows, 10 each, that are basically across the shoulder and the arms. And then I did 2 panels, 1 on each side of the neck for the front. And they're 2 by 8, and they're the widest part across the front. And then there's the back, and it's, I believe, 4 by 4. And so I have spent my time at night just sewing together the 4 blocks in each of the rows, and now I'm starting to seam the longer sides together, but I have not yet got it on the back. I've not yet attached it to those long strips across the back. After this, I just have 2 panels for the front. They are the front sides of it. I think they are 2 by 3 or 2 by 4, and 1 for each side, not particularly hard. Lydia's pinks, the socks. I'm on the second sock. I'm on the heel. I just need to get that done. It's not hard at all. It's probably going to get done tonight. Vestiary 24. I've just been stalled, and I'm going to sit down and finish it. I thought I would be doing it this weekend, but so many other wonderful things came up. No Dizzy Blondes. And the strategy, well, it kind of blends with I'll shoot today. That I have been cycling along 35 minutes per day on my bike desk, doing about 4 miles a day, and I'm at 420 miles, and then I lost my mind and began to run. That I was dying. Saturday, that is a Saturday, Memorial Day weekend. It was beautiful out, it was cool, breezy, and in the 60s, and I said, I'm gonna run. And I kind of lost my mind, put on my running things, which took some digging, and I had to do a lot of work on remembering what the best hacks are for me to have a really fun, comfortable run. But I found my gear, I found the basics, and out I went. So what you're going to see in there is I'm still talking about the bike desk, but I've begun running again. And you will also see my weight loss, that in 2 months I have gone down from 185 to 162. My husband, every time he sees me, says, "Hi, skinny." And I have to admit, I've got some body dysphoria in a good way. I walk by a mirror, and it's like watching somebody else's body walk by. I do have to tell you, this was really easy because I'm keto. And I can't say that enough, that when you are eating carbs, no, I have nothing against carbs. If you want to eat carbs, and you can eat carbs, I would like you to enjoy them. I had 58 years of enjoying them recklessly, and I would like you to do it too. But I am going to tell you, weight loss on keto is a very different experience. Now, a lot of people say I can't do keto. I get the cravings are too much. I never get over keto flu. I hear you. Took me 6 months to get past keto flu. The typical solution, drink electrolytes and add salt to your food, because if you take packaged food out of your diet, you're losing a lot of electrolytes, healthy or unhealthy. By the way, if you go paleo, which keto is a subset of paleo, if you go paleo, you're going to have a lot of similar experiences. But I would say paleo is a great diet, because basically paleo is stop eating packaged garbage. Stop eating unhealthy stuff. So either way, it's been easy. I have to be honest. Now I've slowed down. I'm losing 1 to 2 pounds a week. I think I lost 2 this week. And it's just very pleasant, and it's effortless. It really is. Because I didn't diet. I cleaned up my habits. I'm doing basically keto the way I'm supposed to do it. And the other thing that shocked me was my portions were way too big. And when I stopped doing that, my acid reflux is totally gone, and I'm just feeling great about my eating. Another thing I would look at if you want to do a similar thing is bright line eating. If you don't want to do the whole keto thing, go over and look at bright line. Now, all of this leads me to say as a strategy, I'm really talking about, of all things, emotional management, which is, eat, sleep, move, focus. That's how you fix your long-term management of your emotions. And I'm really discussing eat here, and I'm discussing move. Now, of course, what has happened? Well, I've run all 3 days of the Memorial Day weekend. And the question is going to come up, but what do I do if I hate running? The answer is I hate running. The answer is, look, you do you. You do what works for you. I have never really liked running. But one of the things I can tell you is that was what was available for me when I started running. When did I start running? 1970. I was 10 years old. What does that mean? They hadn't even invented running shoes, let alone running clothes. We all ran, yes, I mean this, in sweats. Oh, I can't even tell you. And we ran in KEDs, no arch support, nothing. Not a coincidence that my arches had both collapsed. By the time I was 30, I used to have high arches. So what that tells you is, look, running is how I learned to exercise. I will tell you, as a runner of, 53 years, can you believe that? I have been told by various doctors that it has probably saved my life. Particularly when I nearly died giving birth at the age of 45, I can tell you. My primary care physician, who in those days was quite good, she and I went through my history because she said you should have died giving birth. And they clearly expected you to die. She was looking at the chart. And so she said, why are you not dead? Pretty exciting moment with your doctor, I have to tell you, when they say something like that to you. And we went through everything. Now, I personally believe it was because I hypnotized myself to stay calm during the 24-hour process it was to have my son. And I believe I was a runner, and I had simply built a very strong cardiovascular system. To quote my doctor at that time, when I told her I'm a runner, she looked at the chart and she said, you have the cardiovascular system of a god. She said, your blood pressure shoots up and then it comes down again. Now, I was doing biofeedback with the blood pressure monitor, with hypnosis, but even so, the ability to do that is based on exercise. And if I were to tell you one thing I did in my life right, it would be all this running. You don't want to run? Great. Get on an exercise bike. Get on an elliptical. Get on a treadmill. Go walking. Go hiking. When I wanted to marathon back when I was 43, I kept busting my legs up every time I tried until I went hiking in the mountains. And that's how I prepped for the marathon. I could only run 17 miles when I ran my marathons, but I could hike 30 miles a day climbing uphill. And that's what made me get through marathons. I don't care what you do, but I'm going to tell you now the easiest hack to exercise every day and manage your mood. It's very simple. Put out your clothes. What am I really saying? If you're going to exercise, have a specialized exercise wardrobe. If you're listening carefully and you know me, you'll know what I just said is go reward yourself with some nice exercise clothes. But you do need the clothes to do the job. So I wear rather different clothes when I bike and when I elliptical in a gym than I do when I go out for a run. My running clothes are very specialized because that's my mainstream thing. And you can't run unless you have the right shoes. You can get away with a lot biking. Although most of the bikers listening, I know you're listening, Potchkey, would tell you they have specialized biking clothes. I don't bike outdoors enough to do that, but I have considered it. But you have to have the clothes for the job. That's what I'm telling you. You have to have clothes you can sweat in and, they need to be made of right fabrics and everything else. You have to have the right shoes. You have to do this right. And that means things like I don't just walk into any sporting goods store and buy shoes. I go to a specialty store for shoes, a running store, and I have them fit them to my feet. I get special insoles. I spend a lot of money. My shoes are renewed about every 200 miles. That's where they break down for me. And I do track the mileage on them. And every time I replace them, it's about $200. This is no laughing matter. This is a real expense in my life. But you have to have the gear to do the job. And then you put the gear where it's ready to go. So I have finished running for the day. I'm here to tell you I've already set up my gear for tomorrow. Because you have to make this no excuses. Okay? And it's spring out, and this is kind of timely. I know, Gemma, you just started running again, so now you're going to try and get us all to do it. I know that's what it sounds like, and that's what it is. Why not? I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. If it works for me, I believe it will work for you. I will never teach you something that I don't do. But the weather is beautiful, and you have healthy, natural cravings to get out in it. So get out in it. And to get out in it, you have to set up rewards, and you have to set up preparedness. Listen, I've been running all my life. I don't think I have ever jumped out of bed and said, oh boy, I can't wait to run. Let me tell you, before a race, even the shortest race, even a 3-mile or a 5K, I wake up and I'm thinking, why did I do this? I don't need another shirt. What am I thinking? I just looked at the registration fee for a local 5K, $75 shirt and medal. Okay, there's a shirt with it, I'll give them that. And the shirt's probably $40. But they probably should have reduced that and given you the no shirt option, I'm just saying. But I looked at it and I said, okay, I got enough shirts, I'm not running this baby. But the valuable thing, if you look up the 5K, you can see their trail map. And so you can go run it yourself. And now you have a measured 5K. The point is you need to prepare. And so, when I prepare, it's not as simple as it will sound. I have a jog bra. I have a running tank over it. I have shorts or leggings for it, specialty ones. I have running socks that are fitted. They're tight-fitted cotton with a lot of padding under the arch. I have specialty shoes. I wear Hoka ones. What else do I have? That's my clothing. I have a tennis visor to keep the top of my head open. But in the warmest weather, I also wear a bandana because the heat is too hot on my head if I'm out there too long. I have the visor. I have sunglasses. I have Bluetooth wireless earphones. I have my phone. I have a fanny pack that carries my water bottles. I have plastic water bottles. I don't like plastics, but I've been using the same ones for years for this one. And it also has a place to hold my phone. I have an armband for my phone, a nylon armband that's big enough. I have a Bondi band for my waist. If I want, I can put the phone in there instead of that. But when I'm wearing the fanny pack, I usually don't wear the Bondi band around my waist. Okay, so you can hear that's a lot of stuff. And it's taken me 3 days to find it all. The basics are I put on my running clothes and shoes, and I hold my phone in my hand and I run. But I do like to have earphones for the phone. I have a program, 5K. It's Couch to 5K. If you're going to start running, even walking, I would recommend you get one of these because it will tell you when to run and when to walk. My program, you start by running, I think, 30 seconds and walking a minute and a half between, and you run 10 times. I'm alternating that with an ease into 10K program. I don't recommend that for beginners. That's for me. And every other day I do that where it has you running 3 minutes and then walking, I think, a minute in between or 45 seconds. Because I do want to get up a little bit. I don't have any real goals, but I wouldn't mind getting to a 10K again. I just like 10Ks. You're out for an hour and it's just an extremely pleasant experience. So what am I recommending? Get your exercise kit together. It's spring. This is going to help you regulate your mood. If you take medication, it's going to help your medication disperse more efficiently through your body. You need to use your circulation and your lymph circulation for that. And to do this, you need to be prepared. You need to make your list. What do I need? And those are rewards. Look, I'm going to run. I get a new shirt, whatever. And then you need to be prepped. Get it all ready the day before. Yeah, my water bottles are in the fridge right now, even as we speak. So, the weather is beautiful and it's time to get out there. And if you're listening, Twin Set Jan out there on the farm in Lancaster, you call it Lancaster. I'm not talking to you because you're working on a farm, man. You're doing heavy lifting all day long. Give me credit for some brains. So there's your strategy, and there's our offshoot. You can see my statistics and a picture of me and my running togs. That's me at 63. I'm so proud of myself. In the fluffy books, I really haven't been doing anything except thinking about rewatching Bridgerton. Something I really like. Oh my gosh, you're never going to believe I fell for this. I love it. I've been watching all those ads for mushroom coffee, and they're really expensive. And so I was like, no, I don't think so. But I got curious about it. I did some doctor Googling. And, the American Medical Association is kind of a mixed mind, but they seem to think it might be good. It's the best I can tell you. Okay, so all these hugely expensive things online, like Mud Water and Daily Dose and all that. And I went to the Source of All Good Thrive Market, and there it was for literally half the price. And what I'm using is a stuff called OM Master Blend Plant Protein in the creamy cocoa flavor. It's mixed with cocoa powder. And yeah, I know, keto. Should I be eating a processed food? Well, this stuff looks pretty good to me. I read the ingredients, which I do on everything because did I mention I'm diabetic? And I thought, well, this is probably a hoax, but I'll just get one package. It's 18 servings, 2 scoops each. Yeah, okay, first of all, you don't need 2 scoops. I use 1 scoop. And I used it the first day, and I got blasted with energy. And I thought, well, this is caffeine. Then I said, no, there's not caffeine in it. I didn't really mix it with coffee. There's a little bit of cocoa powder, but it wouldn't have explained that reaction. And not only did I get blasted with energy, I had no jitters. It wasn't caffeine hyperactivity. And I didn't like it because it had too much stevia mixed in. It was overly sweet, which I did not like. So the next time I did cut it with cocoa powder, and once or twice I've cut it with coffee powder, instant coffee. I love this stuff. The first day I did it 3 times. I didn't mean to, but I did. But I'm only using 1 scoop. And a lot of times I've cut it with, let me think, Keto Chow, which is my keto protein powder. And I love this stuff. I just love this stuff. I have felt amazing since the first day I took it. I am not caffeinated. I'm not staying awake at night. In fact, the second night I slept like the dead for like 10 or 11 hours. I could not believe how well this worked for me. The link is in the show notes. This is called Om Mushroom Powder, or they call it plant protein. They call it master blend. Yeah, tagging them to a specific name. They have it in chocolate and vanilla. There is an even more reduced flavor that I think is just the mushrooms on sale on Thrive by the same company. If you're going to try the mushroom coffee root or the mushroom cocoa root or the mushroom additive root, please do it from Thrive. I believe they sell this stuff as well in Walmart, which is shockingly good as a supplier of keto goods. Put a lid on it. Well, okay, I'm going to be honest. I've been saving for months. And what I've been saving for is clean cookware. I got tired of, we keep buying the allegedly scratch-proof pans and they get all scratched up and we're eating chemicals. Let's be honest here. And so I said, the only real solution is ceramic cookware. And stainless steel, I might add, which is why I like my Instant Pot. And I like the ceramic in my slow cooker. So yeah, I finally did it. I saved up enough, and for Mother's Day and Father's Day, I bought the biggest set of ceramic cookware that I could find. It is beautiful. The link is in the show notes. I'm not going to lie to you, it was $350. I had to save for this one. This was not spare cash for us. It is a big frying pan and a Dutch oven and then a smaller saucepan, and they have lids, and it's a rack for the lids and a rack for the pots and pans. I cannot tell you how I love it. I cannot tell you. Now, the interesting thing, you have to be careful. They tell you don't scratch it. Don't use steel implements on it. But it is ceramic. So I guess, don't take the ceramic and scratch it down to whatever lies beneath the glaze. But at any rate, that's the least of our problems. They say you only cook on low or medium. Let me tell you, if you turn this on low on our gas stove, it begins to boil over really fast. These things heat really efficiently. Really beautifully. I am deeply, deeply in love with them. I will put the link in the show note. The blather, jury duty. I got onto the jury duty site. They've changed my date yet again from September. I can't remember if it was late August. They've changed it again to late June, but I don't know where I'm supposed to do my jury duty because I asked them to move me to the Santa Clarita Courthouse. And I don't know what they did. I'm taking that as a good sign that they changed the date. But I'm hoping it's still showing that I'm up at the Lancaster Courthouse, which is criminal, which is not good because I used to work in a prison. Meanwhile, everything else is pretty normal. Captain is molting. Queenie hasn't started, but it is a hairball Hades around here. The weight loss and all that I've already talked about. I'm not plateaued anymore at 170. What a relief. I do test my glucose and ketosis. They've been doing fine. And meanwhile, everything else is going well. I haven't done anything much on Project G or Project Cookbook, but hopefully I'll get back to it. And I really just haven't had the time to go out and do any gardening, but I really need to get into the weeding. Meanwhile, you can find the links to our threads for community resources, knitting and crocheting books that we would recommend as a group. My favorite things that you can buy that support your knitting, crocheting, and dyeing, weaving, whatever, and links to anything I've found about skills and techniques. I do expect to be on the Hands-On Knitting Center's Thursday lunch chat on Zoom. That will be this Thursday, May 30th at noon. It will be pre-recorded, but there will hopefully be people participating in it besides me. All the meetups for knitting and crochet in the Santa Clarita Valley that I know of are in the show notes, as well as the Santa Clarita Valley Free Craft Exchange. All of these are on Facebook. I am so happy I'm in the 3rd day of my Memorial Day weekend. I really needed 3 days off. Now I'm hanging on for my 4-day weekend in July. And the Labor Day 5-day weekend, yeah, baby, because my birthday is 2 days after Labor Day. That's why that's so long. And of course, CFR 10, as I've talked a lot about today, will be at the Courtyard by Marriott in Valencia on September 28th, and links in the show notes. Finally, Rome Yule, yay, December 21st, hopefully through January 1st. Minerva gets the last word. Would you believe 5 mice in 24 hours? Yeah, I know everybody's writing in saying, do you have a mouse problem? No, we don't. We live on a farm in the desert. And the mice try to come in every year in the autumn when it gets cold. They come in from the great outdoors. Mostly they seem to hide in our garage somewhere. And she hunts them all winter long. And now, basically it's kind of horrifying. They have families, and that's why there's so many mice right now. And Minerva is bringing them to me as a gift live to play with. She doesn't kill them. Captain's getting in on it. She picks them up and carries them in her mouth. I think that's killing them, frankly. They tend to be covered with saliva when Captain's been involved. There is a little bit of hissing and barking, so I think they may be competing when Minerva brings one in. She's given them to my husband twice as well. But she brings them in live and she drops them for us to play with, is what I've realized. I think she's perfectly able to kill them, but I don't think she wants to. I think she's just sharing the wealth. This is because she is trained to retrieve. If I throw a small toy for her, she'll bring it back to me. And I think the mice are a new form of play, and she's trying really hard to get us to play with her. So Minerva the Mouth Slayer, she really just wants to play. Poor Minerva. Yesterday, she dropped one on my husband as he was about to get in the car. And he turned around and he stomped it. And she was so hurt, apparently. She was so disappointed. So I think Minerva's last word would be, play with your human, even if they are morons. On that happy note, everybody, please don't forget, if you're coming to Cognitive, I'm just going to beg you, get all your vaccines, will you? Okay. But please remember, when we take care of ourselves, we take care of the community. But also, when we take care of the community, we take care of ourselves. So everybody, please stay safe, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.